Irish Nation and Irish haters, the recruiting is over, commitments have been made, transfers decided, practices are in motion, games are slated, bowl games have unknown participants with a national champion crowned. But to play like a champion, you need to talk like a champion. Welcome back, Irish Nation. Glad you could join us for another edition of Talk Like a Champion. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo. Glad you could join us again on this heartbreaking day. Well, I guess it's safe to say, you guys, that if you guys are like me and you're hardcore, fanatical Notre Dame fans, you're just gut wrenched right now. You know, it's we've been getting a lot of criticism, ever since our 10 men on the field lost to Ohio State, even though I'm not one that harps on that. But the loss to Clemson was just more intently just gut wrenching. It's really tough, and you can't say it anymore. I mean, I'm just at a loss for words at this point, guys. And even after almost 24 hours, when we had Sam Hartman out of the transfer portal, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I thought it was a huge, huge signing. And ultimately, I think part of it has to do with Gerard Parker's inability to use what he does well. People say his pro-style approach, or Notre Dame's pro-style approach, doesn't fit Sam Hartman, but I beg to differ. When you play big teams, you have to do different things. You cannot stay with what makes you comfortable, because how good these teams are, they're going to adjust. They're going to make you have to go from what you do well. It's just like in a boxing match, you guys. If you got a guy that is a fast jabber, you have to stick and move. You have to throw a punch, get out of there. Throw a punch, get out of there. This guy that's going to throw a lot of jabs, he's trying to keep you at bay. He doesn't want to take your licks. He's just trying to tag for points. And I mean, Sam Hartman has really struggled against, top quality competition. And I don't want to say it's all him. A lot of it is Gerard Parker. We can sit here and we can be cynical, or we can be realistic about what's going on. But the reality of it is, I've read a lot of things that have come up, and realistically, from the 5 takeaways that was an article that was written on Fighting Irish Wire by Nick Shipkowski, and I'll use it. Give you a shout out in the credits too, Nick. It's gut wrenching. You look at the first thing he said, Hartman struggles again. Well, I want to be realistic here, because in reality, it wasn't just Hartman that struggled. It's the offensive line. I mean, we can sit here and we can throw shade at anybody we choose to. And I'll be honest with you. Watching this game in a large sense was kind of like watching the Louisville game in a sense. To not to the extent that Notre Dame got put out of this game ultimately because of pick sixes and interceptions, but ultimately because we just could not run the football and we did not do enough. I had a personal friend of the show say, why is it you can watch other teams run misdirection multiple times in a game? We had a play late. It was either the fourth quarter or the third quarter. I can't exactly remember when it was, but I'm going to pull up the box score. But there was a end around. It wasn't really an end around, but it was like, I think it's the young guy, the wide receiver. Was it Faison? Is that who that was? I think it was Jordan Faison. Yeah, that's exactly who it was. Faison came around the corner, the freshman. And it was like Clemson was shocked by this. They didn't score a touchdown with it, but Faison was able to get 6. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, 6 yards. Ooh, that's a lot. But probably the one thing that bothered me about this game is that Audric Estime only had 3 carries in the second half. And 3 carries? Now, I get it. You're playing from behind the entire second half. I totally get that. But I had to stop and think about it. And honestly, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Nick, for bringing this up. I didn't realize how many minutes Notre Dame was within 7 points. Notre Dame was damn near the entire fourth quarter within 7 points. And I'm going to say it like this. I never wanted to say Gerard Parker was in over his head, but I ultimately believe he was. Because a lot of this is not just Sam Hartman struggling, even though, he went 13 for 30, 146 yards. And ultimately, like we've said, Sam Hartman was brought in to be a Heisman candidate. And we would compete for the playoff. Like Nick is saying here, that was my whole hopes. When I saw what this guy did at Wake Forest with the limited amount of things they had. But here's the thing that I think many people need to... I think ultimately, this would be ultimately one of the worst seasons of Hartman's career. He started out great. And I mean, oh my goodness, this has turned into a disaster. I mean, it has. You can't even blame it for the Ohio State game. But other than that, I mean, he's looked pretty rough. I'm not going to be as harsh as Nick is and say that it's been a total disappointment, that he's as big a disappointment as any quarterback that's coming into a newer situation. I'm not going to go that far. But ultimately, I believe it's a combination of Gerard Parker saying, hey, we're going to run this type of system, and instead of taking certain things that he did exceptionally well at Wake Forest. And then you got to also take into account that we've had guys on the injury list. Jaden Grayhouse has missed time. You've had Deion Colsey miss time. You've had a bunch of guys that have missed time. You cannot just overlook that. I think ultimately it boils down to one thing, is that Gerard Parker is having trouble deciding who it is going to be his guy from. I get it. You got freshmen that are showing up at practice and doing their thing, and you're trying to find ways to get them the ball. And the thing is, the entire offense has had issues. I agree with Nick on this aspect of it. We could sit here and single out Sam Hartman's couple of rough games, but it saw more of what's drove us up the wall. You know, another failure to to execute something that we've been good at in the past, which is a screen pass. And we used to be great at this. Teams used to be so geared at, hey, they're going to run the football, or hey, they're going to pass rushes. Listen, I don't understand how you can say, okay, look, we're going to drop back, give you a little leeway, and then we're going to take off. Drop back a little bit, take off. And I'm talking about, there have been too many times in this season where screen passes have just been absolutely disaster. And there's been times in the past when they've been so good, we take them for 6. And, you know, as I said, it ultimately falls on the back of Jared Parker, the first-year guy. And it's been an offense that, if we can't run the football, we've struggled mightily against really quality opponents. Really quality defenses. And, I mean, listen, to throw a first-year guy under the bus like that is not my job. But I felt like, I don't know if Marcus Freeman felt like this was a national contender, or I felt like he believed, because I believe ultimately that this team was going to be a good defensive unit. But I will say this, I do think not all of the problems fall on the offense, because I'm going to be honest with you, you know, and this is something I feel like Nick didn't mention this, but we had missed tackles. I mean, listen, Nick, you have to, and many of you other reporters, you guys have to admit the fact that, listen, we didn't tackle the ball well. And the reality of it is, we've got 5th-year seniors out here, and honestly, Xavier Watts with another interception. Great. DJ Brown, 5th-year senior, you are still out here missing tackles in the open field. Inexcusable. I called out the safeties, and I've not been trying to call you by name, but I'm calling you by name because, darn it, you keep missing tackles. You went on a blitz and let the running back just go right by you, because he had a Maffa. Maffa's his name. And if I had to film, I'd show you. You whiffed like a video game. And I'm only calling him out because this has become a consistent staple with you, Brown. You had a shot to make the interception in the Ohio State game, you didn't. Xavier Watts now has 7 interceptions. Granted, it was a deflection, but at the same time, here's the reality. We can't hold the defense not accountable. Maffa ran all over us. I'm talking about, this dude was getting 2 and 3 yards after first contact. That's how bad it was. You cannot let a back of his caliber get his feet going past the point of attack. Look, he's 6'1", 230. Does that sound familiar, Irish fans? Yeah. He's a hometown boy, by the way, Loganville, Georgia. Shout out. They didn't allow Estime to get going. They didn't allow him to get going. But now I will say this, in defense, this is one time I can honestly look back and ask Gerard Parker, how come we threw the ball 30 times but we only ran it 17 times? And this is the other thing. The season's over for us, you guys. It's done. It's a wash. But if I'll say this to Marcus Freeman, and I'll say this to Irish Nation, do we need to give up on Gerard Parker? Abso-freaking-lutely not. This is not the time to give up on him. This is the time we say, okay, more than likely this was our shot at a national championship. Unless Steve Angeli or Kenny Minchie come in and say, I'm the man. But I will say this, Marcus, we've got to get us a quarterback. We have got to get us a quarterback that can move. Not necessarily like the kid at LSU or the kid at Alabama, because neither one of them can throw the football. If teams just play spy and coverage, you can stop it. I'm not sold on because you already saw what happened with LSU, which I'll talk about that on a Gridiron Gab triple option. That should have been a targeting penalty. You make connection with anybody in the helmet, and if somebody's helmet makes connection with your chin, that should be a targeting perk because you shouldn't be that high in the first place. As I said, you guys, looking at the numbers, Hartman was less than 50%, 13 of 30, 146 yards with 2 interceptions and the pick 6. Audric Estime had 87 yards on the ground. Now, I do want to say this. Sam Hartman had 68 yards rushing on 7 carries. To me, this is where Parker, and if Marcus Freeman has anything to say about this, this is where I thought Sam Hartman was supposed to be at his that was supposed to separate him from a lot of the quarterbacks that we had in the past. I'm correct myself, you guys. He had 7 interceptions on the year, not 8. I stand corrected. What really was supposed to separate Sam Hartman from a lot of what we've had in the past, even in book, is he was supposed to be able to scramble, run that read option correctly. And too many times, Gerard Parker, Sam Hartman was not keeping this darn ball. Too many times, he's handing it to Estime. He's handing it to Price instead of keeping it and going around the edge. Most of his big plays have either been on 4th down, his big plays, scrambling runs. And they're scrambles. They're not design runs. You've only called a handful of design runs. It makes no sense to call the plays or practice the plays in practice or work on the plays in practice and then don't use them in the game. I mean, LSU walked out there with their quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and said, hey, we're going to win with this guy. He gets hurt, he gets hurt. He gets hurt, he gets hurt. It makes no sense, people. I get it. You don't want your quarterback hurt. But guess what? Now we're sitting here with 3 losses. Sam Hartman's had to take his own initiative to get out there and run. You have to help your quarterback no matter what the situation is. You have to help your quarterback. And if you're not going to help your quarterback, then you need to step down, step away. That's reality. And looking at this, what bothered me more is I'm looking at his numbers. Look, you got 23, 12, and 68. (23, 12, and 68). And that's just okay. I'm sorry. Those were his two his 2 positive rushing days. Okay, let's look at it here. He had 129 last year at Wake Forest, 363 2021, and 275 his freshman year. Let's look at this year. 41 totes, 76. Now, that in college, that does include sacks. So you're talking about a guy who had over, other than 2021 where he had -1. They tried to keep him in the pocket more. But this is what I don't understand, Jared Parker, and even Marcus Freeman. You have a guy like Sam Hartman who's capable of reading defenses and making throws out of the pocket. And with guys like we have at Notre Dame, big, tall, lanky receivers, we're not using them. We're not using them to their strengths. And honestly, I think that's where we failed. We didn't watch the film on Sam Hartman at Wake Forest. Take the things he does well. Take the things he doesn't do well. That's part of coaching. And I get it. Gerard Parker's a first-year guy. But as I said, Notre Dame falls 31-23. And we spent the entire 4th quarter down 8 points. Now, I will give the defense credit for this. They didn't allow Clemson to score but 7 points in the second half. This was a game we had, guys. We scored 14 points in the 3rd quarter. 0 in the 4th quarter. 0. Rico Flores had 1 grab for 35, and it was a beautiful... I got to stop right there. Thank you, Rico. Parker, why, if we're throwing the football in the fourth quarter. Why is it when we decide to throw the ball, we got every route going 15 yards, whether it's a crosser or 15-yard stops. And then when we're on 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 1, every route's a 5-yard route? I don't get that. What was so successful when we got back in this game, watch this, guys, please. Rico Flores' 35-yarder was on a crosser. Where's that at? It was like one of you guys was watching my show when I told you guys about what Colorado State did to Colorado. Colorado's the faster team and had the more athletic team. But what did Colorado State did? Crossed them up. Sit one guy down the field. Had two, maybe one guy crossing. Sent all the guys down the field, one guy crossing in formation. There was that play. And Flores they had two guys crossing. They had another guy coming right behind the guy that was coming this way. Guess what? Everybody followed that guy. Everybody followed this guy. He's running around the middle of the field. And then he even had that guy that was the other crosser blocking for him. I don't understand. What do you do with a fast defense? You man them up and cross them up. I get it. Parker, you're a first-year offense coordinator, but you better be learning. This is called learning on the job. You got to learn to watch more film. Because I was watching this the whole game, and I was sitting there thinking, why did we stop running the crossers? Why are we going back to the stagnant crap? Why aren't we putting guys in motion? Why are we not misdirecting people? And my partner, who's a friend of the show, said, why do we just believe we're going to line up the best linemen in the country and go 5-on-7? Do you not realize when Notre Dame starts losing, that's what happens? Teams say, hey, they're just going to line up 5 guys and say, hey, they're going to block 7 of us. You can't do that. Teams know they got to stop Audric Estime before he gets going. So what do? You have to counter. It's like running the wing T. The fullback is the strongest player in that system. If he is fast or above average speed for a fullback, and he's able to power through people, and you got a line that can get him past the first 5 yards, guess what? Your wings don't have to be fast for them to score. I live in Dublin, trust me. I watched that 2019 high school team, you guys. If you guys want to look that up, you can. But a lot of these guys that were on this team, God bless you, Marcus. Jaquez Evans, who is at Western Kentucky, was the fullback, guys. And he was fast, powerful. Everybody had to bunch everything in, and that had to be within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage because he was so hard to bring down. And that's what we had with Estime. I hope he ignores the callings to the NFL because with the running back position to be in where it is, he could still make NIL benefits, and he could still be here for a national championship. But if he goes to the NFL, I understand that too. Hopefully his NIL benefits outweigh that, and he'll stay. But as it goes, guys, I'm going to read down this. Gerard Parker, I hope you learn from this season. We got to throw it down the field, and we got to throw crossers. There's no getting around it. Tyree had that muff pump. I can't get on him about it because it was in the sun. And I know a lot of people going to say, well, if you can't handle it, let it hit. Whatever. Receiving core was just not... I say Estime was the leading receiver. Flores had a great one. Faison had 2 grabs. Tyree had 4 for 29. Merriweather had 1 grab for 10. Holden Stays had a reception. And that's another thing. We don't utilize... We're tight end you. We're not setting up double tight end formations. Why not? Defensively, a lot of missed tackles. Jack Kaiser was back in the news again, registered 9 tackles. Riley Mills had another good game. 8 tackles, a tackle for a loss. J.D. Bertrand, 6 tackles, another half tackle for a loss. Javante Jean-Baptiste had 2.5 tackles for losses. He's been playing so good. I hate we've wasted this guy. Xavier Watts, Jordan Patelli, Benjamin Norrison. It was like Klubnik wasn't going to be happy until he got picked off by Benjamin Morrison, but Benjamin Morrison rose to the occasion. I thought there were a couple of pass interference calls that were bogus. You can already tell that was home cooking there, but for the most part, I was exceptionally happy with what's up with the missed tackles. Yeah, I mean, we just came out here like this was a 4-4 team and just didn't care. You can't do that. Bryce McPherson had a good day punting the football. I got to give him props. Spencer Schrader was 3 of 3 from field goals and 2 of 2 on punt. Got to give Spencer Schrader more credit because this guy's got a leg and he's been, other than those couple of misses he had early in the season, he's really got his game on. He's going to be an NFL kicker. But guys, this really ended it for us. I mean, I'm not going to stop doing the show this year. I'm going to keep doing it. But this is a gut wrencher, guys. And I got to say, defensively, Al Golden, you got to get your guys to tackle. This was probably Notre Dame's best defensive opportunity to be elite defense. Now, we have some elite qualities, but as far as the tackling, it wasn't good. Was not good for the longest time, especially given we have a guy like him and Audric Estime, and we just didn't get it done. We just did not get it done. But guys, let me know what you think. Go to the Facebook page at same name, Talk Like a Champion, and let me know what you think. I'm gonna leave the show up in the link here on the feed, and then also comment on the YouTube channel at the shows of the same title, Talk Like a Champion. Yeah, this is a gut wrencher, and more than likely ends our season as far as the New Year's Six. And I have a comment for Dabo Swinney. Everybody's dealing with injuries. Okay? You're not special. Same goes for Georgia. You know, you're up there talking about injuries. Next man up. Everybody's got injuries. But here's the reality of it. Thank you and good night. As I said, guys, we got Wake Forest this Saturday. Oh, I'm sorry. We're off this week. We got a whole week. We have to sit around and muster on this. So, yeah, we got Wake Forest, and then we close out the season with Stanford on New Year's weekend. Thanksgiving weekend. But until the next time, all Irish fans, may God hold you in the palm of his hands.